needed to maintain the public component of these meetings. And so anyone who would like to attend or observe this hearing is able to do that by tuning into our YouTube live stream. So that is started now. The last thing I need to do is to go through our hearing script. This will basically cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll jump right into the presentation of the applicant's case. So this is the October 20th, 2021 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the Zoning Hearing Examiner for the City of Cincinnati, and I'll preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20210148. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and opposing parties to testify and offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing, unless a party has opted to submit testimony or evidence in the form of writing prior to this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. If there were anyone here from the public, they'd have an opportunity to speak after the applicant had presented its case. And then in the event that any party testified or offered argument in opposition to this application, the applicant would have an opportunity to rebut that testimony. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. So for our purposes here, it's just the two of us. I'll let you tell me about the project, why you think it's appropriate to grant the variances here, and then I'll ask you a few questions. You can make any closing statements, and we'll wrap it up. Pretty informal. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions and make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony or documents. That's generally evidence you want to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who's not present at this hearing. It's discretionary. Some of that I can let in. It just depends on what exactly you're trying to offer. But typically we discourage someone mentioning what someone else said outside of this hearing. In the event of any technical difficulties or unforeseen circumstances with our video conferencing technology, we'll do our best to troubleshoot that on the fly. But to the extent there's some defect with the tech that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with the hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, I just need to swear you in and we'll be good to go. So if you can raise your right hand, I just need you to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, great. All right, so the floor is yours.
I'm requesting a variance for the properties in Hillside District for an excavation in a wall that exceeds 8 feet in height. Specifically, I think it's calculated to be 9.3 feet. Mm-hmm. There's several reasons why. One is to enhance the property's aesthetics. Two, where we're putting the wall is on this person's property, and about, now I kind of forget, but I think 5 or 6 feet or something like that. There's some distance in front of this wall is an old stone wall, which is on its process of failing. It's past its service life at the very least. So one of the reasons for the deepness of the excavation is it is on the other property and we don't have permission to go tear it down. So the idea is that, and it's on a hillside district, in a hillside district. So the idea for the depth is the weight of the retaining wall is going to be below the bearing of the wall, that old stone wall in front of it, so it doesn't blow it out, frankly. And that's the real idea behind it. Also just to maintain the property, it's kind of chewed up back there, if you will. I have noticed in a property or two adjacent to this property, they have the it's the exact same type of wall actually. So it won't detract from the neighborhood. The neighborhood already has that. And this is all facing the back side. The front of the property is on Madison, and the back side, I believe that's Torrance. If you're familiar with the area there, Torrance comes up from Columbia Parkway. So heck, you hardly can see it anyway because it's kind of hidden behind the foliage and the trees on that back hillside. The hillside itself, where this is located, we're away from the actual crest of the slope by at least somewhere around 25, 30 feet And so as a geotechnical engineer, there's no danger of destabilizing the slope. This is going to be contained within the property and, add aesthetics and value to the property, frankly. And so I'm not sure what else I can say from that.
Yeah. Yeah, and so sorry if I missed this. What in the staff report, it mentioned that there was some work done prior to this.
Well, that's
not permitted.
Yes, that is this gentleman up closer to the building. He had, I don't know who he had, somebody come out and start stacking up the blocks for a wall. He was started to do this. And my understanding is that a building inspector saw him and said, hey, stop, cease and desist. You need to get a permit for this. So he actually called me and I've been consulting with him for quite some time now. I'm not even sure. I think it started last year. And in the meantime, he engaged a local construction company, Bezak Landscaping, to we get this permitted. I would include this part of the wall where he had started it, and it would have to be taken down and built correctly, for one thing. But yes, that is true. He had the beginnings of a wall coming out perpendicular from the rear wall of the building.
Okay. So let's see. It looks like the total cumulative excavation and fill is going to be 14.43. Is that right?
Where was that at? Were you talking about cubic yards?
I think we're talking about, I thought that was total depth of the cut. Of the cumulative excavation.
Oh, yes, it is. I beg your pardon. Yes, it is. The total cut, yes.
Okay. Will that be one single cut that's 14 feet?
Yes. It's just relatively short across the bed. That would be across the back of the property line, parallel to the rear property line. And yes, that would be one cut right there. And that, the reason that is deep is that we wanted the weight of this wall to not affect the wall out in front of it, so it can do whatever it's going to do. It's going to do naturally. Ultimately, that wall's it's already started failing, but again, it's not on their property.
Gotcha. Okay. Are there any cuts that create cliff-like vertical slopes or excessively high retaining walls?
Are there any?
Yeah.
Well, there's the wall. There's a stone wall that's just past this property line. It's about 7 feet tall, 6 to 8 feet tall, somewhere in that range. And I beg your pardon. I haven't figured out how to turn off this phone yet. Anyway, so, but other than that, there's the only other walls that might be back there are more of a landscaping or, seat wall type of stuff, 2 or 3 feet tall on the property to the west, I believe it is.
Okay. All right, great. Let's see. So I don't think that I have any further questions. It seems pretty straightforward. Anything else you'd like to tell me about the project in closing or otherwise?
Not really. I mean, the point of it is hillside stability, and we're so far away from the actual hillside. I find it to be nominal, the threat to the hillside.
Okay. I agree. I've reviewed the project, and based on that review and the testimony here today, I'm going to approve the application. And so I need to formalize that approval in the form of a written decision. Those usually take about 2 weeks.
That's fine. You don't have it done yet?
Honestly, That's really the most time consuming thing for me is actually writing those out. Because they're all
I
a little
understand.
bit different, and I try to include some detail. And so, yeah, as soon as I finish that, I put it into a PDF. I email it to you. I email it to Trey and his boss. And so, as soon as they have that, they can okay the permitting. If you haven't already applied for the permit, you can do that with their office before the decision comes out, particularly knowing that it's going to be approved. And then, as soon as that decision comes across, he can press go, and you'll be good to move forward.
That's excellent. If there's any other questions, please feel free to give me a call or yell at me and let me know, and I'll do my very best.
Sure. Likewise, if any questions come up, or if you'd like a status update on the decision, just reach out and we'll be happy to respond.
Very good. Thank you, David.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Naylor. Have